The Lord, my beautiful blessed souls, back with another word. Trying to get them out. We are in Leviticus chapter 22. I'm going to get started. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, so that they abstain from the holy things of the people of Israel, which they dedicate to me, so that they do not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them, if anyone of all your offspring throughout your generations approaches the holy things that the people of Israel dedicate to the Lord, while he has an uncleanliness, that person shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. None of the offspring of Aaron who has leprous disease or discharge may eat of the holy things until he is clean. Whoever touches anything that is unclean through contact with the dead, or a man who has had emissions of semen, and whoever touches a swarming thing by which he may be made unclean, or a person from whom he had taken uncleanliness. Whatever his uncleanliness may be, the person who touches such things shall be unclean until the evening, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he has bathed his body in water. When the sun goes down, he shall be clean, and afterwards he may eat of the holy things, because they are his food. He shall not eat what dies of itself, or is torn by beasts, and so make himself unclean by it. I am the Lord. They shall therefore keep my charge, lest they be a sin for it, and die thereby when they profane it. I am the Lord who sanctifies them. A lay person shall not eat of holy thing. No foreign guest of the priest or hired worker shall eat of a holy thing. But if a priest buys a slave as his property for money, the slave may eat of it, and anyone born in his house may eat of his food. If priest's daughters marries a layman, she shall not eat of the contribution of the holy thing. But if a priest's daughter is a widow or divorced and has no child, and returns to her father's house as in her youth, she may eat of the father's food. Yet no lay person shall eat of it. And if anyone eats of holy things unintentionally, he shall add the fifth of its value to it, and give the holy thing to the priest. They shall not profane the holy things of the people of Israel, which they contribute to the Lord, and so cause them to bear iniquity and guilt by eating their holy things. For I am the Lord who sanctifies them. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons and all the people of Israel, and say to them, when any one of the house of Israel, or of the sojourners in Israel's presence, presents a burnt offering as his offering for any of their vows or freewill offerings that they offer to the Lord, if it is to be accepted for you, it shall be a male without blemish of the bulls or the sheep or the goats. You shall not offer anything that has a blemish, for it will not be acceptable for you. And when anyone offers a sacrifice of peace offerings to the Lord to fulfill a vow, or as a freewill offering from the herd of the flock, to be accepted, it must be perfect. There shall be no blemish in it. Animals blind or disabled or mutilated, or having a discharge or an itch or scabs, you shall not offer to the Lord, or give them to be Lord as food offering on the altar. You may present a bull or a lamb that has a part too long or too short for a freewill offering, but for a vow offering it cannot be accepted. By any animal that is testicles bruised or crushed or torn or cut, you shall not offer to the Lord. You shall not do it within your land. Neither shall you offer the bread of your God, any such animals gotten from a foreigner. Since there is a blemish in them because of their mutilation, they will not be accepted for you. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, where an ox or a sheep or a goat is born, it shall remain 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day on it shall be acceptable as a food offering to the Lord. But you shall not kill an ox or a sheep and her young in a day. And when you sacrifice a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord, you shall sacrifice it, so that you may be accepted. It shall be eaten on the same day, and you shall leave none of it till morning. I am the Lord. So you shall keep my commandments and do them. I am the Lord your God, and you shall not profane my holy name, that may be sanctified among the people of Israel. I am the Lord who sanctifies you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. Okay, let's get into this, because we see a lot going on here. Now, this chapter we have diverse laws concerning the priests and sacrifice of all the preserving of the honor of the sanctuary. That the priest should not eat the holy thing in the uncleanliness, in their uncleanliness. that no stranger who did not belong to some family of the priest should eat of the holy thing. And if he did it unwillingly, he must make restitution. The sacrifices which were offered must be without blemish, that they must be more than 8 days old, and that the sacrifices of thanksgiving must be eaten the same day that they were offered. So, for those that had a natural blemish, though they were forbidden to do the priest's work, were yet allowed to eat of the things. And the Jewish writer says that to keep them from idleness, they were employed in the woodroom to pick out which was worn and eaten, that it might not be used in the fire upon the altar, that they might also be employed in the judgment of leprosy. But those that were under any ceremonial uncleanliness, which possibly they contracted by their own fault, might know so much as eat of the holy things while they continued in their pollution. Some pollutions were permanent, as leprosy or running issue. These separated the people from the sanctuary, and God would show that they were so far from being more excusable than really they were more abominable in a priest. Others were more transient, as touching of dead bodies or anything else that was unclean, from which after a certain time a man was cleansed by bathing his flesh in water. But whoever was defiled might not eat of the holy things under the pain of God's mighty displeasure, who said and ratified the saying that so shall be cut off from my presence. Our being in the presence of God and attending upon him will be so far from securing us that it will but more expose us to God's wrath if we dare to draw nigh to him in our uncleanliness. The destruction shall come from the presence of the Lord. 2 Thessalonians 1:9. As the fire by which Nadab and Abihu died came from before the Lord. Thus those who profane the holy word of God will be cut off by that word which they make so light of it. It shall condemn them. They are again warned of their danger if they eat the holy thing in their uncleanliness, lest they bear sin and die therefore. Note, those contract great guilt who profane sacred things by touching them with unhallowed hands. Eating the holy things signified an interest in the atonement. But if they ate of them in their uncleanliness, they were so far from lessening their guilt that they increased it. They shall bear sin. Sin is a burden which if infinite mercy prevent not, will certainly sink those that bear it. They shall die, therefore. Even priests may be ruined by their pollutions and presumptions. And talking about sin, because we think that sin is just something simple, and it's not, because it defiles us. It does kill us. Even when they were in the garden and they said they would surely die, they were thinking more it was a spiritual death, but it was also a natural death, because they also would eventually be dying, because I don't believe that God had it for them to ever die when they were in the garden. As to the design of this law, we may observe this obligated the priests carefully to preserve their purity and to dread everything that would defile them. The holy things were their livelihood. If they might not eat of them, how must they subsist? The more we have to lose of comfort and honor by our defilement, the more careful we should be to preserve our purity. This is what I was just talking about. They impressed the people with the reverence for the holy things when they saw the priests themselves separated from them, as the expression in verse 2. So long as they were in their uncleanliness, he is doubtless a God of infinite purity, who keeps his immediate attendants under so strict a discipline. This teaches us carefully to watch against all moral pollutions, because by them we are unfitted to receive the comfort of God's sanctuary. Remember that. People think that life's supposed to be so wonderful when you do absolutely nothing. You care nothing about God. Why do you demand and think that you're supposed to be blessed so? This teaches us carefully to watch against all moral pollution, because they were fitted to receive the comfort of God's sanctuary. Though we labor not under habitual deformities, yet actual defilement deprives us of the pleasure of communion with God, and therefore he that is washed needeth to wash his feet. John 13:10, to wash his hands and to compass the altar. Psalms 26:6, herein we have need to be jealous over ourselves, lest, as it is observantly expressed here, we profane God's holy name in those things which we hollow unto him. If we affront God in those performances wherein we pretend to honor him and provoke him instead of pleasing him, we shall make up but a bad account shortly. Yet thus we do if we profane God's name by doing that in our uncleanliness which pretends to be hollow to him. So that's just hypocrisy. And basically talking about, having a form of godliness but no power. Also, just claiming to be holy when we're not, when folks are not, when they're claiming to be so pure and in closed doors. They, you see a lot of, whether it's priests or whatever, they talk about a lot of things when it comes to pedophilia, molestations, when it comes to, whether they drink, smoke, whether they fornicate, whether they have adulterous affairs. We see this, not just, in the pulpit, we see the priests, we see the pulpits, we see different ones who actually, defile. They walk up like rightly before us, but behind closed doors, their hearts are far from God. Excuse me. But this is why, Christ had to come, because there was no way that they could fulfill, Remember, the Pharisees, Sadducees, the Sanhedrins was against Christ, but that's because they practiced all of these laws. They knew the Torah. They knew all of these things by heart, but their hearts were far from God, and all of the practices that they were doing, meaning the things they actually were doing behind closed doors, selling the doves, selling all of, remember when Christ went and he, flipped over the tables? That's why, because they were doing all of these things, selling and, gospel selling, the birds, and allowing people to just sin so they could come and make money off of them buying stuff and doing it. This was, this is not what it was about. And we see that even today, is the gospel more about a business? Is the church a business? Is it more of a business than it is of a holy sanctuary, which is what God originally ordained it to be? So it's like, when we look at these things, are they talking more about numbers? Are they talking more about money, finances, prosperity? Are they talking about being seen, heard, and putting on these grand fiascos of shows and things, and just being like the world in every aspect, wanting to have and do everything that they have, whether it be the gospel programs or the type of music, gospel music, because you can't really tell if it's, of a God or not. They want to rap, they want to do all these things. This is the things that of the world. They're mimicking too much of worldly things. They're not being set apart. They're not being peculiar. They're not, getting away. They're more intertwined with them. And although we are supposed to, they talk about judgment in Christ and how he was around the sinners. Yes, he was around the sinners, but he transformed them. They didn't transform him. He was around them, and their lives changed from being around him. His life didn't change from being around them. And when I say that, meaning he was still holy, he was still pure. He was around them, he loved them, he forgave them. He did miracle works and signs and wonders, but he was there to change their lives, not for them to change him. And so we see this a lot where people, the mixing. And then you say, oh, well, you got to go out there. You can go out and reach and preach and teach, but you don't have to do and be like them, because that's what you're called, as the example, to not be like them. You see what I'm saying? And, even myself walking, it's like being able to live here, but not be of here. And asking God to show me how to live here, how to have a family life, how to have friends, how to have a career. But then I'm not supposed to be storing up all these earthly, worldly treasures. I'm supposed to be focusing on going to heaven. But I still have to live here until he comes. And whatever purpose and assignment that he has for me, I have to be looking into and trying to ask him to help me, see, navigate what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So it is a renewing of the mind. It is, a daily practice of surrender yourself to God and up under your salvation. It is a working it out daily, taking up your cross with fear and trembling. I'm going to get into that because that's another word that, it's powerful. But anyway, it's not me, it's the Lord. He's just showing me things, and I'm just sharing them with you guys. Here's the law, that no stranger should eat of them, that there is no person whatsoever, but the priests only, those that pertain to them. The priests are charged with this care, not to profane the holy things by permitting the strangers to eat of them, right? suffer them to bear the iniquity of trespass, that is, to suffer them to bring guilt upon themselves by meddling with that which they have no right to. Thus, it is commonly understood, no, we must not only be careful that we do not bear iniquity ourselves, but that we must do what we can to prevent others from bearing it, meaning, trying to show people the way not to sin. So being the example, living the life, our own lives and walking it out. But also, God chooses us to be an example. Some people, you'll be the only Bible or testimony that some people ever see, hear, or know. We must not only not suffer since Allah upon our brother, but if we can help it, right, we must suffer it to come upon him. But perhaps there's another meaning of those words. The priest eating the sin offering is said to signify they are bearing the iniquity of the congregation to make an atonement for them. But let not stranger therefore eat of that holy thing particularly, and so pretend to bear the iniquity of trespass, right? For there's daring presumption for any to do that, but such as appointed to do it. Those that set up other mediators besides Christ, right, our priests, to bear the iniquity of trespass, sacrilegiously rob Christ of his honor, right, and invade his right when we had warn people not to trust in their own righteousness, nor dare to appear before God in it, but to rely on Christ's righteousness only for peace and pardon. It is because we dare not suffer them to bear the iniquity of trespass, for we know it is too heavy for them. This is what this is about. We want to put everything in everything else. We want to put it on Buddha. We want to put it on all of these other religions and all. But it clearly states in the Bible that sin was too much for any of us to bear. The only one that could come here and bear it was Christ himself. That's why that was his calling. He was made for it. He was chosen. He was put here to do that. He knew his purpose. He knew his assignment. He didn't veer from it. He knew he couldn't hang out with other people and do what he wanted. He knew he couldn't drink, have sex, fornicate, do all these things. He had a purpose and assignment. He had to stay pure. He had to stay. Why? Because he was peculiar. He was called to do such a thing. And the way that he was called to do it, he knew it required sacrifice. And the only way that he would be able to do it is to live the way he was supposed to. A pure life here. An earthly, fleshly vessel that was here. Not an animal to sacrifice. This would be the ultimate, because it's a human sacrifice. But the human sacrifice is the one and done. He was going to do it once and for all and cleanse everyone's sin. Why? Because he lived a blameless, spotless, sinless life. And that would be the only acceptable sacrifice for sin, to handle the debt, which was the wages. So now that Christ had paid it, we must understand we cannot let anyone take that from him and say we can go to get saved through any and all other means. It clearly states in the Bible that that's not the way. And it clearly states that any other way is going to lead you to hell. So we have to understand, to take away Jesus, to take away Christ, to take away his blood, is to take away salvation. So we can't take away Jesus. We have to have Jesus. Why? Because we do not have salvation. We do not have the cross. We do not have the sacrifice. We do not have the debts paid for sin, the wages that we rightly, iniquity, sin, trespass, transgressions that we've done. No, we do not have the payment for it. We cannot pay for it. How much sin we've done, we were born in, how much? No, we cannot satisfy the debt. So this is why you cannot say, oh, all in every religion is just so wonderful and we just gonna love and have peace and worship all these things and worship the creations, Mother Earth and these animals and all these things. Those are the creations, not the creator. So why are we worshiping these talismans and priests and people, places and things, whether they're Hollywood, whatever it is, money, vanity, Coach bags, and people worship things, houses and cars and how they look and how their bodies are. This is what this is about. Music and, the people here that we see, whether they're in the pulpit or in Hollywood, and they throw themselves at these, how? Worship, adore, and idolize, how? They are human beings just like you. They are a human being. They put on their clothes one leg at a time, just like you. God said we're not supposed to do that. And so these are the explanations of all of these things. Here's an explanation of the law showing who were to be looked upon as belonging to the priest family and who not. Sojourners and hired servants abode not in the house forever. They were in the family, but not of it. And therefore they might not eat of the holy things. But servants that was born in the house, or bought with the money being heirloom to the family, though a servant yet might eat of the holy things. No, those only are entitled to the comforts of God's house, who make it their rest forever, and resolve to dwell in it all the days of their life. So this is the comforts of the blessings. The blessings of God is for his people. As for those who for a time only believe to serve a present term, they are looked upon as sojourners and mercenaries, and have no part nor lot in the matter. As to the children of the family, concerning the sons, there would be no dispute. They were themselves priests. But concerning the daughters, there was a distinction. While they continued in their father's house, they might eat of the holy things. But if they married such as were not priests, they lost their right. For now they were cut off from the family of priests. Yet as a priest's daughter became a widow and had no children in whom she might preserve a distinct family, and return to her father's house again, being neither a wife nor mother, she should again be looked upon as a single daughter, and might eat of the holy things. If those whom providence has made sorrowful, widows, and who are dislodged from the rest they had in the house of the husband, yet find it again in their father's house, they have reason to be thankful to the widows. God, who does not leave them comfortless. 3, here is a command of restitution to be made by him that had no right to the holy things, and yet should eat of them unwittingly, if he did it presumptuously. And in contempt of the divine institution, he was liable to be cut off by the hand of God and to be beaten by the magistrate. But if he did it through weakness and inconsideration, he was to restore the value, adding 5th part to it, besides which he was to bring an offering to atone for the trespass. The law might be dispensed within a case of necessity, as it was when David and his men ate of the shadow bread, right? And in 1 Samuel 21:6, and our Savior justifies them and gives them reason for it, which furnishes us with a lasting rule in all such cases, that God will have mercy and not sacrifice. Matthew 12:3, 4, and 7. Rituals must give way to morals. It is instruction to gospel ministers who are stewards of the ministries of God not to admit all without distinction, to eat of the holy things, but to take out the precious from the vile. Those that are scandalously ignorant and profane are strangers and aliens to the family of the Lord's priests, and it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to such. Holy things are for holy persons, for those who are holy, at least in profession. Matthew 7:6. So this is, more talking about how God wants us to steward. Stewarding, being respectful, being mindful of how we're supposed to be there, like the widow, the daughter, how we're supposed to walk in these, respect us to each other and our honor, to respect each other, to love each other, to have honor for one another, to not defame or defile each other. This is what this is talking about. So when you talk about the daughters, not to defile the fathers if they are priests by sleeping around, by making his office look bad, also, speaking bad of the father or the house, or doing other things. These are things that are looking unseemly. Why? Because as a father, as a mother, as a parent, when you speak negatively of your parents, or you speak negative of what goes on, you put it out there, it just, lets people know what's going on. It is not a good thing. A lot of things need to be on the hush and be kept quiet and in the secrets of people's homes for them to handle and dispute amongst themselves. It is not always good to be putting things out. We have to know when to have restraint, what things can be revealed and at what times, and in what reasons and purposes and practices, because not all the time it will be received and accepted. So God will tell you when you can let things say something, or when you should just keep quiet and let him defend you in certain situations. But as we see, this is another thing when it comes to the widows and it comes to women, and how we are supposed to carry ourselves. The woman that go home she's to be helped, taken care of. This is a part of what goes on with the priests, meaning with them, with their households, with the funds, the tithes, the offerings. People don't talk about tithes and offerings. They talk about people giving, but they don't talk about the giving that they are getting is supposed to actually go towards helping these unfortunate. They talk about the widows, the orphans, and Are they doing these things? It's a question. They're receiving the funds and the money, but are they actually using the funds and the money for what it is actually supposed to be allocated for? Because in the times of, just like when the SNAP and food stamps just ended, where all these priests, whether they priests, pastors, churches, were they going to feed their congregations? Because all year long, your congregations, you're preaching tithing, but you leave out the part in the tithing. So where we're in times of crisis and need, or just regular congregation, you're supposed to be meeting the needs. This is because of your 501(c) status with the government, along with not more than anything being above all of that, because God is watching you and the finances that you are receiving. And instead of you taking these things in and being selfish, that you are supposed to be dispersing these things. So when I talk about sitting in the churches and then they are just getting wealthy, no, these are not the practices that God wanted for them to build these big synagogues and churches and have it from the funds of the parishioners, and for them to just have places where you sit and worship. No, the funds are supposed to be allocated to help feed the hungry, the poor, and the desolate, and all these type of things. But they're not doing that. They took building funds, this funds, that. Listen, ministry takes money. Okay, at the end of the day, we know that. But all the millions of dollars that you have, what are you doing with it? Let's be real about it. You paying for a building? Why did you even build the building? I mean, what do you need the building for? See, because the building always becomes the reasoning behind continuously asking or petitioning for whatever it is going on for more funds. But the thing with that is, like I said, that's a repetitious thing. So my thing is, we need to start looking at this, because is it more of a business? They're branding, they're all of these things that they're doing. They have merch, they have all of these things, they have books, they have this, they have that. They are really getting rich off of the gospel. But the thing is, what are they doing with the funds? Are they actually helping the poor and needy to the extent of what they should be doing? Or are they taking the money so they can live these lavish lifestyles, which is what a lot of them do. I'm not going to say all. So now, church is not supposed to be a business. It really isn't. I didn't see Christ doing these things that these people are doing. They sound like, and they look and sound like the Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Sanhedrin. Because when you look at Christ walked around, yes, people helped him. They gave him a place to stay. But you didn't see him just taking these thousands. No, he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. That's just, no. So when they take things out of context, they making folks give $10,000, $20,000. God is not in that. That is not God. God is not going to force you and make you give them no $10,000. No, that's not what, unless you a person that actually has that type of a money that you can afford. But then if that's the case, you can go out and you can do that for the people in your own neighborhood, and you can help them yourself with those funds instead of sending it to the church. This is what I'm saying. And it's not to say that the churches don't need funding, that all of them are the same. No, but you can help and do other things besides just continuously go and give your funds to the church. I see a lot of people, when you die, you done tithe and offer, they never help you do nothing. They don't even want to hold your funeral there. They don't even want to do a lot of things. And it's like, when it's time to get married, it's like everything is a price tag. It has a price tag on it. And it's just like, come on now. We need to really get out of that, especially when you have these people who are tithe. If they stop tithing, go through hardship, instead of asking them to help them, you ask them, when the last time you tithe? What if they didn't have the money to tithe? What do you mean? These people are in need of help. What are you going to do? Are you going to help them, or are you not? Is it all about you? Is it all about them pouring into you, into your establishment, into your so-called vision? It's all about you, and your... Yeah, God doesn't do that. Anything God gives, he multiplies. It's reciprocal. It's not a one-way situation. You give God the little, he expand the little and make much of it. This is what this is about. But see, they don't want to preach and teach these things. This is what they don't want to do, because this is the real, God is not going to sit here. He watches us eat all now. That's why the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. But the violence, the kingdom suffers violence, and the violence shall take it by force. And this is what prayer, this is what warfare is all about too. You use this to your advantage to go and war in your prayer room for what rightfully belongs to you and your bloodline and your family. And this is what this is about. Now, we see the ritualistic of it, and I've discussed this before, how, Satan and his worshipers use these things, crystals, talismans, all these things, altars, and the covenants and the contracts and stuff. They use it for the evil practices of what they want. They want to go after and get. They want to swap. They want to steal. I was having a conversation, with someone at a job the other day, and we were talking about, what goes on in these other countries, and they keep the people poor. They keep the people poor by what? The curses. By what? By practicing idolatry and worship. Why? Because God curses those places. So they wonder why, they're under famine. But the witches and warlocks is doing. They know that they want to be rich themselves, and they keep the others poor. This is how they keep that going, because someone has to suffer. Someone has to be sacrificed for the other one to gain. This is what this is about. So they sacrifice those people in those countries for their own wicked gain. And they tell the people, oh, it's the government. Oh, it's the... No, it's all of you here practicing all these iniquities. Cursed is those lands. Why? Because you practice in sorcery. Divination. God says it in his word. You shall not practice these things. And he will not only curse the people, but the land. Remember, in the when Adam and Eve was in the garden and they sinned, the land was cursed. The animals, the seeds, all of these things was cursed. The childbearing, she was cursed. He was cursed. Adam and Eve and the serpent. So we it's not like God won't curse a land, a nation. He will. He will curse it. When you are practicing these demons, and people say it's just about America. No, they all are one, and you see they all are together, and acknowledging that they are all one religion, even though it seems to be different, and they are practicing the same things, just in different circumstances and situations and scopes. That's it. But it's all the same: Satan, devil, Lucifer, demon worshiping. It is not of God. It is the opposite, and this is why it's the only religion that you will see, meaning Christ. Children of Jesus, that are going to be the ones who is going to be always the ones that they are after. They are always after Jesus, his name. They're after whatever, mocking him and his people for that reason. So it's not like this is by design. That's Satan doing that on purpose. Him and whoever is with him. In their mindsets, and whether they realize it or not, they're practicing these things and they don't realize what they're into. Their minds is of the world. The world, we have already, we were just discussing, how even the calendar is off. It's wrong. So what else? They've been lying to us our whole lives about everything. So it's like we have to awaken. We have to pay attention and see where God is and what he's doing. We need to be running and chasing after God, because in these last days, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hard to get saved. You're going to have to go through, it's going to be a lot. The pestilence, all these things is coming. We need to be seeking God more than anything. Why? We want him to sustain us. We know things are coming. More than anything, we want to go to heaven. We want to see him. We want to go to a better place. We want to have a relationship with him. We want to know him for ourselves, because Christ is the best gift that you can have or give someone. Why? It's a life of being saved and not going to hell. That's the first gift. It's a life of salvation, of healing, deliverance, of restoration. This is a life that God promises us. He promises us this here and when we get there. So these are the things that we want to be running and chasing after, and not the things of the flesh and of the world. All of this stuff is going to pass away, and the permanent things are going to be the permanent things of God, the things we do not see. Why? Because we think that the spiritual realm is because we don't see it. It doesn't exist. No, it exists more than you think. Where was I at? Okay, so I was looking. Okay. So remember, we're supposed to offer things that are not of spot nor blemish. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to go into more of the Okay, this chapter sets apart the priests from the rest of Israel, emphasizing that those that join near to God must embody a higher standard of purity, both physically and spiritually. Restrictions. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh no. Okay. Wait. Did I? Okay. Leviticus 22 continues the priestly code, meaning focusing on how the priest must handle sacred offerings and who is permitted to eat them. It's a chapter about honoring the holy, guarding access, and maintaining purity in the presence of the divine provision. So, summary and key themes: guarding the holy things, meaning priests must not approach or handle the holy offerings if they are ritually unclean. We have discussed some of the areas and the ways that would be causes of uncleanliness, is including skin disease, bodily discharges, touching a corpse, or contact with unclean animals. Until they are cleansed, often by evening and after washing, they must not eat the sacred food. This is pivotal. Speak to Aaron and his sons so that they abstain from the holy things of the people of Israel, which they dedicate to me, so that they do not profane my holy name. This is about governance of access. Not everyone can touch what is holy, even among the holy. So, talk about more. We talked about governance. We talked about mantles. We talked about commission. We talked about a lot of these things, and it has a lot to do with these type of things, because these are mantles that he holds, that they must be holy. They're walking in the mantle of being a priest. They were commissioned to do what? Be a priest, to uphold this office and to operate in it the way God has specifically outlined it. That is the governance part. We talked about the tabernacles, which were, the times when God had certain things like the ark and all these different things. And there were specific things with that. There's always rules and regulations that come along with these things. Leadership, you must train. God calls, he trains, he approves, he anoints. He puts you out there to work and operate in your office, your mantle, your calling, to do whatever it is he wants you to do. We are supposed to be offering solutions to the issues of life, which is Christ. Why? Because he is the solution. So we're supposed to be giving Christ to everyone in every which way we can possibly, in the way we're supposed to, because it is governed. And offer him and as a part of their lives. Why? Because we want to see them saved. We want to see them whole. We want to see them healed. We want to see them delivered. We want to see them restored back to him. So this is about bringing back family. Like I said, we are all a part of one body. The church is a body. It is not a building. Okay. And the church, meaning the people in their hearts, their minds, their souls, that is the church. Okay, and we embody it, and the temple is our physical body that houses our spiritual, and that's what this is about. So Christ took it from being the actual location to the actual vessels, meaning it's no longer about a place. Okay, these are about us as a whole, a body of Christ all over the world, the body of believers who believe in Christ, working and being together, loving one another. I mean, we're so called to love even those who do not love us. Yes, but we're called to be commissioned to go out for them, to bring them in, to harvest the field, sow seed. There's a seed time offering, one sows, one plants, and one waters, and then God gives increase, meaning he brings them in on his time. So this is what this is about. But we're all supposed to be commissioned in our own purpose and assignments that we have. Those are the gifts, talents, whatever God has given us. And we're supposed to be walking and doing these things. I was talking about before how just sitting in church and not using your gifts, not pursuing your purpose and your assignment is also something that you're supposed to be doing, because you're not just supposed to sit in the church and go to church. So it's like when we get saved and go to church and sit in the pews, I mean, do you just go there and that's it? No, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be still chasing after God, our relationship with him, our purpose, our assignment, and we're supposed to be fulfilling, acting it out here on earth, doing what it is he called us to do. And it's always going to be some capacity of winning souls or helping souls or loving souls or doing something, because this is what he was about. Whether it's each other, our own soul, we can't pour from an empty cup. It's our own soul, it's other souls as well. So we are our brother's keeper. We can't just sit here and say that, we're supposed to care. We're supposed to love one another. We're not supposed to be walking the way they want us to walk here on earth, which is singleness. God is about community. He's about family. He's about structure. This is what he's about. He's about us being together. Him, the angels, us as a family, as a body, Christ with us. As you know, this is what we're supposed to be, reconciling, bringing us back, restoring, healing us, delivering us, restoring us from what? For our own bondage, our own choices, our own lifestyles, our own things that we did, the curses, the hexes, whatever it is that we went out and disobeyed and allowed to come upon our lives, stuff we were born into, same thing. But to break the chains, to break the yokes, to break the bondage off of us, and to be set free from those things, to have a life full of joy, peace, love, forbearance, the fruits of the Spirit. Why? Instead of having the opposite would be of death, of depression, of, all of these things. We see drugs, we see, fornication, we see all of these things that God, lets us to see that are not of him. You see what I'm saying? So we're supposed to leave those things and come back to him so he can clean us, so that we can have a pure heart, so we can love, so we can have a pure, because he's going to show you how to love. He's going to show you how to forbear. He's going to show you how to keep your peace and your joy in the midst of a storm and a trial, how to love one another, how to love people who hate you and don't like you. And why? Because we're supposed to love them too. But how will we know to do that if that's what the Holy Spirit is here for, to teach us? So when we're walking in these, offices and we're doing these things, we have to take it seriously. We have to pay attention to what is going on. And, you talk about touching corpses. You think about the dead and the sick and the dying. I mean, even when it comes to that, because remember, a lot of these things, but this is for the priests in particularly. So, but uncleanliness is uncleanliness. Uncleanliness could be unclean hearts. It could be unclean minds. It could be unclean. You full of demons. You full of spirits. Whatever that has been in your mind, these evil, wicked thoughts, all these type of things, and demonic possessions. I look at people who are, mentally unstable and different things like that. That's what that is all about. We think that, take a pill and that's it. No, there's something more going on there. Their spirits are being tormented. These thoughts, these words, these acts, you could tell these people are not themselves. And there's more to it than just, being, what I would call in their right minds. Because there's something going on. There's a spiritual thing going on. So I'm going to end this one. Let me see. And walking in the office, like I said, it's about holding your authority. It's about knowing your authority that you have to govern, what offices you hold in life, what positions, titles God has given you to govern. For me, I'm a mother. I was a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. So in my life, I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. So in my life, I would have these as governances. These are positions. These are places, titles that God has given me in my life. These are offices that I hold that I must govern. So when God gives you, so much is given, much is required. Whatever he gives you, you have to master it. You have to handle it. You have to have the ability to handle the ups and downs. That's just like governing and running your households. Like when you run your business, you run your household, you run whatever it is, to handle and manage these things. You see what I'm saying? And so God has to show you and give you the ability, the strength to, make the proper decisions, to, move a certain way, to, love, to govern with love, humility, along with being stern and firm, because your yays be yays and your nays be nays. So you see what I'm saying? So it's never always going to be just a one-sided situation, because no one's ever going to have all of what they want. No one's going to get everything that they want. You might get what you need, and you better hope you get everything you need, you see? So it's like when we think about these things, those are the blessings and the thankfulness, the gratefulness that we should be thankful to God and grateful for whatever it is that he's given us. And we should manage it well, whether it be our finances, our children, whatever it is that we are called to do. And we must be making wise decisions so that we don't make all this other extra stuff for ourselves, for our children, more of a burden. Because to whom much is given, much is required. Now, if you want to have a bunch of children and you want to do all of this, you're going to have to handle that. That's why God didn't call us to have all of these households. Why? Because it's hard enough just to govern one. Just to govern you, your wife, and your children in your household up under God's rule. Instead of having all of these other situations going on, it creates an issue. It creates a process. Why? Because how much of you are you really able to pour and give out to all of these other situations? So when people talk about having more than one wife and doing all these other things, God was not of that. And we see that in the Bible, because even when they were doing that, he was talking and speaking against it, against having more than one wife, against having concubines, against all of these things. And when you look into Solomon, and when you look into David, and when you look into them, they destroyed their own selves with their own lusts, with their own hands. Why? Because they indulged in these things. Why? Their eyes were too bigger than their guts, is what they used to tell us. Why? They wanted more than what they can handle. They wanted more than what God told them that they should have. Everyone has a portion. A portion of a whole. You take your portion. Be happy with your portion. Handle and manage your portion. So, we're bruised and not broken. We are blessed. We are the head and not the tail. We're here to govern. We're here to walk in our purpose and our calling. We're here to walk in our if we were chosen, called to do something, our purpose, our assignment. We're here to govern. That means you got to regulate. And everybody not gonna like the rulerships, the dictatorships. They're not gonna like it. And they're not gonna like how you move, what you're doing, how you doing it. They're not. But it's not about people pleasing. It's about fair, just. God deals with righteous justice, righteous judgments, righteous vindications. He does it. He gives us justice. He gives us all. This is why we fight for it. In the spirit, we sit, we pray. Why? Because this is a part of what it is. You know, we want what is just and what is good and what's right, because that's who God is. So, bruised and not broken. Be blessed. Like I said, I don't ask for any funds. I ask you to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I am trying to pick up, and because there's a lot of words that I need to get out that I've been a little busy. Consistency and persistence is, it gets me a lot sometimes. So, Lord, He's working with me. But anyway, I'm going to let this one go. This is Leviticus chapter 22. We are blessed. We are blessed. We are blessed. Love you guys. Until the next one. Later.